Hey, this is God's Big Toe with God's Big Toes Poker Coaching Community. Making a video this time on note taking and color coding 101. So first I thought I would mention, some of the importance of why we note take and why we color code. One reason is that it gives you a good read of the temperature, in quotes, of the table at a glance. And I'll explain what I mean by temperature a little further in this presentation as we get to color coding. Gives you an idea of the habits of your villain, especially on sites where you can't use a HUD, sites like Global, sites like WSOP, BetOnline, Intertops. Um, Gives you an idea of the idea calling ranges to exploit villain when you see them doing weird plays and things that are substandard, and you take a note on that, and you can use that in the future to your advantage. And one key thing is that when you are multi-tabling and putting in that volume, or have to take notes on multiple players in a hand, shorthand is necessary when you have lots of tables flying and we're trying to read notes at a glance. Color coding. So the key thing is to go with easy to remember colors, something that's more comfortable to you, something that you're not going to have to struggle to learn and remember. For me, that kind of went with some intuitive ones and some kind of like a stoplight type idea. Blue is for the tight players, players that aren't playing too many hands, not the type to double barrel or raises a bluff. Um, not the ones that go too crazy. Green is for the loose and the passive players, the guys that are limping in every hand, no matter their stack size, actually no matter at all. The guys who call raises once they do limp, and then call down draws in second pair way further than they should. Orange are the aggressive players. They're not afraid to push the chips around. I would mark myself this color. Guys who are willing to 3-bet light and check raise bluff and really get involved. Red are the maniacs. Those are the guys who take it too far, over jamming heaps. The guys who you see just cold shove in 50 blinds with a pair of fours, things like that. Or they get on a open-ended straight draw or a flush draw and they, push it for 100 blinds, things like that. Squeezing really light. Raise a bunch of random callers and they come in with a big bet with something like king queen or queen jack suited. Yellow and gold are people who I respect, pros, people are good thinking players, such as that Snarf Black guy, Bet on Drew, Poker Pastor, Dog Geek, guys of that nature. So as I mentioned, shorthand is key. It's the only way to be able to take notes on a regular basis when multi-tabling or when you have to take a lot of notes at once. Again, you should use what's easy to remember for you and most comfortable. This is the shorthand that I use. And I color-coded them on here to kind of match why or when I use, each tag. T is for tight. And those are for the players, like we mentioned, who aren't getting too crazy. ST is for super tight. I mean, those are the guys that you see that have the, like, I don't know, 10, 12, or 10, 8 PFRs who never don't have a monster hand, things of that nature. L is for loose, pretty standard. Guys who are limping, get the LT. Guys who limp call, even when you ISO, get the CT. AG for aggressive, OP for people who overplay hands, such as the small pairs and the draws that we were talking about. OB is for overbetters. For me, there are still a lot of people out there who raise 3 times the blinds as their standard open, so I don't think too much about that. But when I see 4x, I always say that range is generally 7s or better, ace jack or better. And when I see that it's any different, that is a time when I'll take a note. Um, Position steals, PS, those are guys who are constantly, relentlessly raising your button, raising the cutoff, bets whenever they're checked to. Red players are a combination of all those things, AG, OP, OB, PS. And then just some random ones that don't really go for a color code, but shorthand that I use when taking notes. POS is for position, BTN is for button, CO for cutoff, and HJ for hijack. And now what we'll do is we'll roll into some hand examples of where I would take notes and what they look like. All right, so here we go. I picked a bunch of random hands that I thought were noteworthy. Some of them I'm playing in, some of them I'm not. Let's take a look at these and see what we can see. So here's one that I don't play, but we see some action that's interesting from the other players at the table. And so we thought there was some noteworthy action here. That brings up a good point too. You know, just because we're not in a hand, we should be paying attention as much as we can. And taking notes is a great way to keep your focus at the table, even when you're not playing. And so you can get valuable information from people just by seeing what's going on at the table. So we get a limp and a min raise. And everybody's coming along. Small blind checks, big blind checks, and the OG limper leads out for 1 blind. And we see him in 3-bet. That's a curious play. I don't think that's a standard play. Don't really know what to make about that. I don't really think it's a very good bet because I think we're bloating the pot and not really accomplishing much else unless we have something like set of 4, set of 5, set of jacks. I can't think of any other hand where this move makes much sense at all. So that's probably something that piqued my interest. Like, what is going on here? We see a fold from Drew and JD and Bateman. NASCAR, like I said, he's like always flat in this spot, I think. And he does. 5 on the turn is interesting. So that 5 definitely hits some of the people who call this for sure. There's lots of straight draws out there. Obviously, Jack X is out there. NASCAR after the min raise or min lead out and the min raise decides to check. And now Dig Trader leads out for 1/3 pot. Sure feels like he's leading him for value. NASCAR comes along. When NASCAR comes along here, like I said, he always has a 5, a jack, or 6, 7, maybe 2, 3. I think that's pretty much what his range is. Now the 2, 3 gets there, 6, 7 whiffs. I don't think there's a lot of aces out there besides ace jack and maybe ace 5. With all the action, I think a random ace would have gotten away on the turn. NASCAR checks again. Kind of putting him on a weak jack at this point. Maybe a hand like 8s, 9s, 10s. Those are in there too, I imagine. He faces another small bet. I think 8s, 9s, 10s all have to go away, so that leaves Jack X. And I guess some weird ace X that got there on the river, even though I don't know that would happen too often. Wow. And now NASCAR plows it. So I don't know what he does this with that isn't, gosh, a 5, ace jack, set of 4s, that has a boat, something like that, set of jacks, trying to get value. Pretty strong. Dig Trader goes all in, and it's obviously a call from NASCAR. Then we see it. He didn't have 1, 5, he had 2. Ace King playing their hand really weird with that min raise on the flop and the bet on the turn. Definitely not a standard way to play Ace King post flop. He also min raised pre flop, so I think there's a decent amount of notes there. So using the example, you can see I already have here. Min isolates pre-flop with ace king suited. Min 3-bet a donk lead on a J4-5 board, and then leads the 5 turn. All in on ace river. There we go. I think we get a note for NASCAR too, actually. We do here. Min donk lead is set on the flop, calls 3-bet, check calls turn, check river to induce. So that was a big one with the quads. He actually checked back the river and got that max value. So two good notes there on that hand. You can also see I color-coded NASCAR. He's running a 16-1 now that we have the HUD up. So I did make him that blue color, as you can see as well. So there's just a small example of the color coding in practice. All right, 8-5. I imagine I'm not really in this hand either. Raise, call. We get out of the way. And we see a flop of Jack 6-7. I think Drew's going to c-bet here a lot on that driver board, and he does. JD comes along. And now a pretty coordinated turn card. Drew leads out. It's a little small, but it's not crazy small. JD comes along again. Now I'm really putting him on like 7x and 6x. It has combo draws. I think two pairs sometimes calls this, sometimes raises this. For sure. Sets are in there too, I suppose, and then a lot of Jack X from one of them. Although with JD calling in the backseat, I think he's got less jacks in his range, and Drew's got more jacks in his range. River brings a 4-card straight. Drew checks. And JD pops it out real small. Drew calls. We get the showdown. And JD's got King Jack. So I think the noteworthy one here is that he just called down with the top pair. Also noteworthy that Drew calls the river bet with no straight and a jack, I guess, that's smaller than the king kicker. So a little note there as well. We'll turn the HUD on. Here's the HUD. And as we can see, c-bet Jack 6-7 board. Barrels turn. Check calls the river with less than bottom pair. Ooh, that's not right. Less than top pair. Okay, kicker on a 4-card straight. No, let's do it this way. J 6 7 5 5 8 board. There we go. And I think that covers it. Let's turn off the HUD. Now we look down at Queen 10. Probably do get involved here. Ooh, I wanted to. Homeboy just jams 9,000 chips at big blind 120. I just can't call. He gets called though. We whiff. We see King 2 suited and Queen Jack suited. Noteworthy from both players. Let's turn the HUD on so we can take that note. And you can see here, jam 75 blinds, first position, King Deuce suited. The other note for this guy over here as well, calls a 75 blind cold shove with Queen Jack suited. I'm imagining he might have had a read. This guy was jamming every hand. There could be some of that, something to take, account of when you're playing, to see if there's some game flow information there. Same spot, same guy. I must have seen that hand before. I figured I had to call when we saw King Deuce. He has a pair of 9s this time, and we just catch him. But this is a good example of how the note before got us to call in a spot where, we weren't too bad of shape. And I actually think this is the top of his range. Raise. Same guy, same spot. He gets called. Shows pair of 4s and ace-king. So turning on the HUD so we can take our note. Notice I have him marked red too as well. Over jam 4-4. We have a good range on what he's doing this stuff with. Pretty much everything. And we have him marked red because we know he's going to be super aggressive. Never donk bet. Got the orange. We can see kind of by his stats that, he's pretty active as well. So we get a little bit of feel of a couple of people at this table. Eight, 9 offsuit. Raise. 3-bet. We gladly get out of the way. And a call. And all of a sudden we see a guy stuff 8,600 chips into a 1,000 chip pot and get called. Can't wait to see what these guys have. Aces and ace queen. Wow, I think this is noteworthy again by both players. I'm a little surprised Dirt got called there. But you can see jam 90 blinds on a 389 board with aces. You know, I think he gets so many folds there so often. I think he's a little scared to play post flop, so that gives me a little bit of a read there going forward. And Caddy Carl called the jam with nothing but a backdoor flush draw and 2 overs. Called 9 blind jam on a 389 board with no hand. Just make this a little better of a note with ace queen, 2 overs, and backdoor flush. There we go. Another hand that we don't get involved in, but we saw something that was noteworthy. Limp. Oh, and the giant jam. Same note as before. Just noting on people who just stuff a gajillion blinds. We get out of the way here. We see a couple of limpers, ISOs, and calls. Check. Pot size bet. Usually a scare 10 or 9. Sometimes the flush and the straight draws. It does get called. And we head to the turn. Another pot size bet. And another call. I think with the call on this one, 428's almost always got some sort of draw. 30-all bag almost always has a scare 10. Let's see if we're right. Over pot. 4-8 calls. 10 deuce is 2 pair. It was better than a 10. And the flush draw just calling down. So turning on the hunt, I do think there's a note that's worried about this one. We did see Dirty Old Bag limp with 10 deuce suited and then call the giant raise pre-flop. So that part is definitely warranted. So limp calls, giant raise pre, and cut off 10 deuce suited. All right, we pick up the kings. Here's one we're going to get involved with. We open, get a bunch of callers. There's a giant 3-bet. When he bets this big, I feel like he's committed. And to 4-bet this, I have to jam. It's half my stack or otherwise. We do get it in the middle and get called. Ace on the board. Do we hold? We do. And the note on this guy is essentially raise crazy all in for 30 blinds with 4-4. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of our little training video on note-taking and color coding 101. If you like this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, make sure you click that subscribe button down below and go ahead and put a like in there too. We will see you again soon.